Good morning, Devils fans. We're going to be talking about the best player in the NHL, as today's spotlight is on Jesper Bratt. Born July 30th, 1998, to his parents Connie and Karen, Jesper grew up playing hockey and field hockey with his younger brother Philip, who also still has aspirations of an NHL career, Philip formerly being an invitee to develop Devils development camp. Jesper, in the 4 years leading up to his draft eligibility, played for AIK of Hockey Allsvenskan, a second-tier ice hockey league in Sweden, where he put up 17 points in 48 games in the final season leading up to his draft. Bratt would famously be taken 162nd overall, a sixth-round pick. Now, Bratt didn't immediately jump into the NHL, but instead would return to AIK and play another season where he scored 6 goals and 22 points in 46 games. Bratt would also win silver at the 2016 World U18 Championships representing Sweden, where he had 4 points in 7 games. Now, coming into the 17-18 season, Bratt was expected to be loaned to the London Knights of the OHL, who owned Bratt's rights when they took him 49th overall in the CHL import draft. Now, Bratt did commit to play there and even played one preseason game, but starting with development camp and going into the under-20 summer showcase where Bratt played for Sweden, and then powering right through into and through training camp, he forced his way onto the team where Ray Shero had no choice but to keep him with the main club and not send him back to the London Knights. He earned himself that 3-year entry-level contract on May 13th, 2017. Bratt would make the opening night roster and quickly became a fan favorite as he scored a goal and earned a shorthanded assist, earning himself the second star of the game. Fun little fact, his parents both flew out from Sweden to make his NHL debut game and were in the crowd to see their son get his first points and first NHL goal. So it's a great moment for the entire family and a memory I'm sure they will have forever. Bratt would actually be the lowest drafted player to debut as a teenager, since 2 other guys did it in the 94-95 season. One being Roman Vapat, who went 172nd overall, and Richard Zednik, who went 249th overall, a 10th round pick. Bratt started his rookie career red hot, scoring 10 goals and 30 points before the All-Star break, but would slow down quite significantly, finishing the season with 13 goals, 35 points, in 74 games. Bratt would get into one playoff game against the Lightning where he did go pointless. It would become pretty apparent by the end of the season that Bratt was running close to on-E, being his first NHL season. Previously, over in Sweden, he had never played more than 40-something games in a singular season. So throw in the 70-plus he played in the NHL, getting adjusted to the NHL travel schedule. He just, used up what was in the tank as a rookie and, needed just to build that stamina going forward, which by the time we get to where he is at now in his career, he absolutely did. But all in all, it was an insanely successful rookie season for a kid that kind of just came out of nowhere. His sophomore year, he unfortunately suffered a fractured jaw during practice just before the start of the season, causing him to miss the first 13 games. He did finish that season with 8 goals, 33 points in 51 games. Rounding out his final ELC year, he put up 16 goals and 32 points in 60 games. And this is kind of where the Bratt contract saga begins. We could all see that the talent was there, but hadn't yet all come together. So Bratt was signed to a bridge deal, 2 years, 2.75 per. Bratt would only put up 7 goals in the first year of this deal, but would finish the season with 30 points in 46 games, his best pace yet. Again, now playing in a contract year, the following season, Bratt would have his true coming out party, 26 goals, 73 points in 76 games. At this point, Devils fans, pretty much including myself, rated him to a major deal. Think we probably could get him at a bargain discount considering he hadn't put up a 30-point season until just that most recent year, so hadn't earned himself quite a lucrative contract quite yet. But the Bratt camp had different thoughts, as they thought this 73 and 76 point player was much more of who Bratt was going to be than the previous 30-point scorer that he was. And so they really did a bet on themselves type deal. Now, from my understanding, Devils did want to ink Bratt to a long-term deal, but Brett's camp was not going to do it outside of a crazy sort of overpay that he had just not earned to that point. And considering we had someone like Jack at this point on the $8 mil deal, there wasn't any chance Bratt was going to get that kind of money. And so, after a long offseason of back and forth and speculation of what was going to happen with this contract, Bratt did end up signing a prove-it deal, 1 year, $5.45 million. And as we all know, Bratt would go on to repeat his 73 points, this time having his first 30-plus goal season, where he's potted 32 and played his first full 82-game season. Now, although his only goal in playoffs was an empty netter, he did end up with 6 points in 11 games. Bratt would still end up with an overall solid playoffs, having a pretty good impact on the ice, but not as much on the score sheet as even he would have liked. As you're kind of realizing in these videos, that's a fairly common theme for a lot of the star players, but not all, on the Devils in this real first run in the playoffs for pretty much all of them. So I'm not taking too much away from Bratt there. I think he still looked pretty solid. But again, this was a very long season again for him, but I don't think this was a case as like in his rookie year where he kind of was running on E. I think it was just the team as a whole getting adjusted to that second round type of playoff hockey, and of course just running into the brick wall that was Shesterkin in the first round. I think we'll see Bratt have a much more successful playoff run this upcoming season. But to talk about the contract just a little bit more, even with those rumors swirling the past couple of seasons, with all the contention around the negotiations, I never had any doubt that he was going to sign here. If you listen to any of his interviews, whether it was in the media scrums, on the podcast, doing any sort of media really, he consistently, full-throated said he wanted to be a long-term Devil. There wasn't any of that, looking between the lines or, we'll see what's going to come that you do hear from a lot of guys in contract years. Bratt straight up said, full-throated, with his chest, I want to be a Devil. I want to be here. And that did finally come to fruition on June 15th, 2023, when he inked an 8-year, $63 million contract. So now, what about Bratt's actual game style and play on the ice? Well, he's an elite offensive talent who thrives off transition play and on the rush. His skating and edge work would be the best on the team, if not for Jack Hughes. His bread and butter, shifty moves, and his release, which allows for fooling goalies on the shot or being able to quickly dish a puck over to a teammate, setting up a high danger chance. Bratt doesn't really sit net front for deflections or tap-in rebounds, although he'll find a couple of those goals or 3 or 4 throughout a full season. Physicality also is not his forte, as he'd much rather dispose an opposing player of the puck using his stick or maintain possession with his low center of gravity and stance. However, this does not stop Bratt for standing up for a teammate, as he has dropped the glove multiple times when he feels that one of his teammates was hit less than clean. I believe it was this past season, maybe 2 ago, Bratt took a hit in the corner. I'm not even sure it was even that dirty of a hit, but Bratt came flying in and dropped the gloves with a guy much bigger than him. No real fists were thrown. They ended up wrestling down to the ice, but this just shows Bratt, he even did it in his rookie season when it was that one hit on Hall as well. Bratt will come in and defend his guys when he feels it is necessary. Off the ice, Bratt stays fairly low-key. You will find him on social media posting pictures of him and his girlfriend or being with family, but for the most part, he's not doing too much media availability outside of the scrums. He has been on the Devils podcast before, and he did do a segment as well with his brother, Philip, with Amanda one time. And across all of these, he always comes off as very personable, well-spoken. He actually gives very well thought-out answers to basically every question he's asked. And while technically not off ice, every summer you can watch videos of him with his skating coach and his off-season training. And if you watch these videos, it is no wonder at all why he is as good of a skater as he is. Going forward, I think we should absolutely expect a top 6 role from Bratt. There's no secret there. He's obviously a top-line talent, but given the wealth of talent on this team, really no matter how the top 6 does shake out, he's going to be with top-line caliber guys. Even if technically by depth chart he's written in on the second line, it's really a 1A, 1B situation here. He's likely to be a power play 1 guy, but even last season we saw him drop to the second power play for just change of looks given the similarity of skill sets we have on the top unit. So I could see that happening again, considering we have guys like Timo, and even Toffoli is a really strong power play player. So maybe they juggle things around, but he'll definitely get time, if not all season. I'd say for a majority, but definitely at points on that top unit. We should expect great things yet again for Bratt. I don't know if he'll do a three-peat of 73 points. I think he'll actually peak out again this season, where maybe there's overall less opportunity to get an abundance of ice time, given just how many guys we have to split that between. But now playing with better caliber players, power play should be better. Likely to just get an increase in production. But even if not, he's, I think, a surefire 70-plus point guy. And his contract absolutely allows for him to be in that range. Over these last couple seasons, as I jokingly, not so jokingly said at the top of the podcast, according to analytics, you could really argue Bratt as being the best player in the NHL, at least through stretches and points in it. Now, obviously, on the aggregate, on the whole, you're not going to put him like with the McDavids or Jack, but for stretches, especially the start of last season, legitimate arguments could have been made that he was the best player in the NHL. And I think he can play like that consistently over a full season. So now with no contract negotiations looming over him, I know some guys some people will argue contract years is when guys play their best hockey. He's got his bag now. He's got nothing to worry about. But this team's hungry. He's got 8 years, and he's locked up with the core of this group for a long time. He's not going to be taking any time off. He knows his teammates aren't. He's going to come in hungry to show that he can do even better. And again, he's got his money. He's not playing for that anymore. At this point, it's for the cup. So I plan to see that best player in the NHL come this next season. And I cannot wait, as I say with all these guys, to see what they're going to bring. My top three for Bratt, it was hard to kind of pick out exactly. He didn't have any, outside of these, real 3 points, big, major rock star stunning plays like a Jack, but he's a lifelong Devil, which I have a soft spot in my heart for, and he does have a consistent note like all these guys, as my number 3 for him is going to be his first NHL game, the power play goal scoring in his first game, also getting an assist in that game. Now, he wasn't the first star that did go to Will Butcher, who had 3 assists, but Jesper Bratt was probably one of, if not the best player on the ice that game. Coming in, 6th round pick, rookie year, first game, parents are in the building. I was there live watching it. It was a phenomenal start of the season, and it had basically set up the career that Bratt is having. Number 2, I'm going to aggregate this as his breakaways. If there's anything that stands out highlight reel about Bratt, obviously he has some amazing passing plays, and he has some great goals, but it's really his breakaways where he just undresses, it seems, every goalie in the league on these breakaways, whether it's a shootout, whether it's just getting a nice stretch pass coming right in over the blue line. He has his patented move, lifting his skate, deking to the left, and then or right, and then coming back around and tucking the puck in right near the post with a goalie just laid out on the ice. You can find these all over YouTube. Multiple highlights of him doing this to multiple dudes. And number 1 is going to be the Bratt trick hat trick to bring him to 30 goals this past season. He scored this against Vasilevsky, so it's not like this was some backup goalie that he took advantage of. Now, the third goal was an empty netter, but a hat trick's a hat trick. We also know the iconic picture of Bratt in the massive hat. So, yeah, that one probably sticks out the most in my mind for me. It was also his 30th goal, came on the hat trick goal, his first 30-goal season. So it just felt like the most iconic moment in his career for me. And yeah, so that really covers it for Bratt today. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Let's go Devils. Oh, and for the Bratt pack out there, Jesper Bratt is the best player in the NHL, at least for today's video. See you guys tomorrow.